Wano is definitely Sanji's best arc, which is funny because this shouldn't even be about him, but yet it's a continuation from his character development from Whole Cake Island. And Sanji is quite honestly one of the better written Straw Hats, if not characters, in the series, but yet he's also one of the most controversial. But over the course of a few years, he's been forced to face his past once again, something he thought was never going to reappear in his life. And because of that, he's gotten better as a person and become a stronger combatant. He is quite literally evolved as a person in Wano, getting new power-ups, a new body, and new flames. This is the evolution of Sanji and how Wano has become his most important arc to date. But of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay notified. I really do appreciate it so much. In fact, I'll kiss every single one of you if I could. With consent, of course. Sanji was born a prince to the Germa kingdom 21 years ago, but he wasn't treated like one. In fact, he was treated like the stepchild that was also a servant, that was also the janitor. I say son, but really he was just an experiment, as Judge was trying to create the perfect super soldiers, one that have powers similar to devil fruits but have no emotions. Something in Judge's past must have happened where his emotions got in the way to him achieving his goals, and thus he wanted to create the perfect soldier. But unfortunately for him, his own wife Sora decided to intervene and take a drug in order to make sure that her children kept their emotions, because she believed you cannot be human without your emotions, because she did not want to raise monsters. But unfortunately, this came with a great cost, and the price was her own life, as she got very ill afterwards and just a few years later ended up dying. But unbeknownst to Sanji, this would end up being the best thing that could happen to him, even though he had to endure a lot of trauma for several years. After being freed by his sister Reiju, he ends up escaping and leaving his family behind him, and tries to find a family that truly cares for him, and which he luckily does with Zeph, the chefs, and later on Luffy and the Straw Hats. Even though Zeph was the one who taught Sanji to never hit a woman and his values, it's funny that it's the woman in Sanji's life that ended up helping him and saving his life. After finding his father figure in Zeph and learning the importance of food, Sanji lives on the broad sea, kind of becoming a bit stagnant and forgetting about his dream about the All Blue in hopes to repay his debt to Zeph. And in a way, it's stagnating his growth, and he's unable to unleash his full potential until Luffy and the Straw Hats arrive. In fact, Sanji was okay with this, believing that dreams aren't worth dying for, until Zoro and Luffy teach him a valuable lesson that you should always chase your dreams, even if it means sacrificing your own life. And Zeph even tries to push that thought onto Sanji, telling him to watch these two, they're going to be very important. And thus Sanji joins the Straw Hats and is able to fulfill his destiny as well as unleash his full potential. Sanji even develops his own fighting style as well as his own form, Devil Leg, and even capable of combusting into flames similar to Lunarian. But he says this is due to his passion. In hindsight, it might be due to Judge and his experiments. This guy just can't get away from Germa. But unfortunately for Sanji, you might be fast, but you can never outrun your past, and the Germa come back into his life, forcing him to marry Big Mom's child, Charlotte Pudding. And Sanji, here deciding to face his past once again and try to overcome it, decides to leave the Straw Hat Pirates because he feels that's the most beneficial for them. A lot of people thought that he was losing faith in Luffy. First of all, he was planning on coming back to the Straw Hats, but thought he can handle the situation on his own since it was family matters, but things got out of hand, and he just believed that he wasn't worth all the trouble and they can find a better cook suited for the Straw Hats, and he was no longer needed. In fact, he does something similar back in Thriller Bark against Kuma before Zoro shuts that shit down. So Sanji decides to cut ties with the Straw Hats and carry all the burden on his shoulder, refusing to ask for help because that is typical Sanji, always going off on his own, thinking he can solve everything. He truly believes he's not worth the effort and the Straw Hats are better off without him, but little does he know he's really irreplaceable. As we see, without him, the Straw Hats can't cook for shit. And that's why when Luffy confronts him, it's such an emotional moment for Sanji, because it shows that he really is irreplaceable and is worth everything to Luffy and his dream, even saying that without Sanji, he cannot become Pirate King. He learns the important lesson that it's okay to ask for help while getting some reassurance from his captain that he really is important for the crew's benefit. And the crazy part is, despite all of the trouble his family gave him, Sanji still wanted to save his family from being executed by the Big Mom family, proving once again that Sora's sacrifice was not in vain and that it's Sanji's kindness that ended up helping and saving the Germa family. They even form a plan to poison the wedding cake that Big Mom craves to kill her, but Sanji refuses this as it goes against his code as a cook. As you might know, Sanji is a very prideful man and stands by his code of honor. And to a few folk, they believe Sanji's moral code gets in the way of a lot of things and they find it more of an annoyance, but they don't understand that Sanji's code of honor is what makes Sanji Sanji. Similar to Batman, that he will never break his code, and that what makes him a great character. In fact, he goes through all these trials and tribulations but can stay true to himself regardless of the circumstances. Sanji even learns a valuable lesson here, that it's okay to ask for help, and this comes back around in Wano when he's fighting against Black Maria and he begs Robin for help, kind of embarrassing himself, but it's actually a callback to Annie's lobby when she's crying for their help. And this is a big moment for Sanji, who usually goes about protecting the woman, but here he is asking for a woman for his assistance because he knows that he's not good in this situation and that Robin will be far more suited for this battle. And now we enter the raid suit. During their escape, Niji slips the raid suit into Sanji's pocket, now giving him the ability to transform and gain even more power, which Sanji desperately needed at this point. He never really had the best durability, almost getting his bones cracked or broken on several occasions, and he had a really rough time in the new world for the better half of a decade, where despite his pride and his hatred against Germa, he decides to throw his pride to the side and put it on in order to help his friends, as well as achieve his lifelong dream of peeking into woman's bath. Sanji, you idiot. He does get stronger through the use of the raid suit, and he gets everything he desires, like the power of invisibility, but at the cost that it came from the family that he despises. And slowly over the course of Wano, you realize he's becoming more and more Germa-like, and he starts getting an inner conflict where he's not sure who he is anymore and is scared he's gonna turn into a monster like his brothers, a person without feelings and emotions. Because after he used the raid suit a second time, Sanji mentions that his body has been feeling weird, and weird is definitely what happens, as during his fight against Queen, his body goes through a metamorphosis and it seems like his latent powers begin to awaken, and he does become the perfect soldier that Judge has been looking for, and he is not in fact the failure that his father and his family thought, but in fact he is a late bloomer. As his powers begin to manifest, he gains an exoskeleton, regeneration, super speed, super strength. He's basically One Piece's Wolverine, and this is a power no one's seen coming, as Queen uses his strongest attack and breaks all of Sanji's bones, only for them to snap back in place, and then Queen to use his sword on Sanji's face using full power, only for the sword to break, and Sanji's face begins to be dented, similar to Yonji after their fight. Sanji even begins to run off in the middle of his fight because he's having an inner crisis, not sure what's going on with his body, believing that he's becoming more Germa-like, a monster. And as he's running, he bumps into a woman that he believes that he accidentally hit, and he truly understands that the raid suit is turning him into the monster that he never wanted to be. But it turns out it was Queen, so Sanji don't have to worry about that one. Even Sanji's eyebrows change direction, facing the same way as the rest of his siblings, where before it went the opposite way, signaling that he's a lot different than Germa and he's not a part of them. But now that his body has awakened, it proves that he is now fully a Germa soldier, or well, a part of the Germa family. I can't wait for Zoro or someone to point out that Sanji's eyebrows change direction. It's gonna be a great moment. But nonetheless, this moment was very pivotal for Sanji's character, as he understands with great power comes with sacrifices, and if it means that he loses himself and his moral code, then is the suit and the power that comes with it even worth it? Sacrificing the raid suit and his dream of peeking into women's baths all together and using his own power in order to defeat Queen. And there's even a point when Judge chastises Sanji and Luffy and asks why Luffy cares about Sanji so much. He's a failure and lists all of these things, and Luffy, being Luffy, says, why are you listing all the good aspects about Sanji? And at face value, it's pretty dumb. You're like, Luffy, what are you talking about? He's dissing your boy. But Luffy's basically saying that he doesn't want a monster that Judge was trying to create or a soldier. He wants a human being, a cook, someone that he became friends with years ago. Luffy does not want a soldier or a monster. He wants Sanji, and this comes into play when he decides to get rid of the Germa suit, as he begins to wonder what is more beneficial for Luffy in order to become Pirate King, as Sanji would do anything for Luffy and his dream. And he does exactly what he sets out to do and defeats a 2nd Division commander, Queen, with his own unique power with a combination of Germa as well as Red Leg Zeph's techniques all into one combination, creating the Sanji that we know today. Using his super speeds, going so fast, making it look like he's going invisible, not being able to be detected by Queen. Literally evolving as a fighter and a person throughout this arc, he becomes a better version of himself, even developing a new ability, Ifrit Jambe, a higher degree of fire than his devil leg. And with this ability, not only does he conjure flames but also electricity, as it seems, with his legs, and each hit causing a huge explosion. It's kind of like having volcanic eruptions coming out of your feet and getting hit by that. And during this fight, Queen utilizes all of the techniques from the Germa kids, Ichiji, Niji, and Yonji, so in a way it's kind of like Sanji is fighting his entire family and their science, but overcoming it with his own powers. And although Judge believes emotions lead to weakness, in fact, it's the exact opposite. Emotions are very important for character and their fighting capabilities, as we've seen through Sanji's character, as well as other people throughout the series, where their emotions is linked to how strong they are. Where the stronger Sanji's emotions are and how passionate he is, the stronger his flames and the better a person's haki is. So Judge really failed here at this point, and the person he thought was a failure actually ended up being his true success. And Wano really was a continuation of his character development that started in Whole Cake Island, and he's only gonna become better and stronger from here on forward. And at some point he's gonna have to really reconcile with his family, not be friends and buddy with them, giving them daps and saying, hey, what do you guys drink? You saw that bad bitch that walked by? No. He's just gonna have to come to terms that he is a Vinsmoke, but his family and Germa do not define who he is, and he's just Sanji at the end of the day. His actions today are what define him. And his evolution won't end until he's complete as a person and accepts everything about him. And I, for one, am excited to see what the final stage of Sanji will be, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be pretty hot, because his leg's on fire and he can combust into flames. I'm gonna go.